All right, everyone. It is right on the hour. So let's go ahead and start today's meeting with the Aspen updates in an instant. I will post our agenda in the chat for everyone else and hand it over to Mark.
All right, thanks, Jordan. Let me share screen and get our release notes up. All right, this is a little bit of a smaller release, just because the last one was a little bit longer of a release. We had a little point release after the last release, nothing too major, mainly just some updates for different ILSs. So just some little indexing things and special sauce. We're starting to see 2405 out in the wild and starting to fix some issues related to that for Koha and just little things for Sierra and Polaris with special things there. The one that people might be interested in more is Overdrive. There was an issue. Overdrive stopped allowing Kindle books to be returned from within Aspen and other discovery platforms. And they popped up an error message that was kind of hard to understand. So we've gone ahead and made that translatable. So you can translate that to something better. They're also working on a permanent fix for that. With that, let's look at 2407. Jordan's going to come back and do all of the Lita stuff as always. So I'll jump back down to the discovery. So some more accessibility updates. A lot of these related to the new accessible browse category mode. So if I switch over here, you'll see we've added a search link as well as the hide. So we're able to say, hey, 2020 was a little while ago, so I don't really need to see the new books of 2020. Let's go ahead and hide that. Then it comes back. Maybe I don't want to see any of the on order stuff. I know I don't want to wait that long for things. If I do change my mind though and say, oh wait, I really do actually want to see something, I can click on the show hidden browse categories and restore stuff. So this is similar to how it works in Discovery, the kind of classic view of the browse categories. So you can restore any of those that you want. So if you want to see Mother's Day Mystery and Murder again, you can. Those are also all accessible. So tabs and that kind of thing work, and tabs and enter keys and that kind of thing. So good for all of our people that are using keyboards for navigation. Going back to the release notes, some API updates. These are largely to drive the Aspen Lita updates. CarlX, we've started working on the self-registration forms for CarlX, so that's something that you can now do and test. I'm not going to show that right now, but cool stuff for our CarlX libraries. In Cloud Library, there were some issues where some books that were already available were showing as on order still rather than as available or checked out. We tracked down the root cause of that, and that's fixed now. So all of those Cloud Library titles are showing properly. Also some little stuff with e-commerce. So if you're using donations, we had some cases where that wasn't working properly. So all of your donation functionality should now work, so you can accept donations through Aspen. Evergreen, this is something that has been a big request for quite a while. We had the Evergreen users group earlier today, and several of our libraries were excited about this. So we can now write a new holds.csv file to the server that shows the number of holds per bib record. And that will then show up if we go to our search results here. So I just did a generic search. So things like the 3-body problem. We've always seen the number of copies and number of people on the waitlist for the ebooks, but for Evergreen now, we're seeing the number of copies and people on the wait list. So you can see, hey, there's only one audiobook. I've got 6 people in front of me if I place a hold right now. All the light, we cannot see 5 copies and 90 people. So, oh, that's an ebook. Let's see if I can find another book here. Scrolling. So, yeah. well, that first one's a good example there. So we can start to see that. We are looking at maybe making that so that it'll happen even if the title is on shelf as well. So if that's something you'd like to see, bring it up at the community meeting. That'd be cool. Some other things going back to the release notes. So for indexing, we've updated the display title. So based off all the graphic novel work that we did, we found a few cases where display titles that had the graphic novel, it was just stripping out graphic novel from the subtitle. So you would wind up with whatever the title was, comma the, which just looked a little weird. So we've updated to strip the graphic novel, a graphic novel, and just graphic novel from the end of subtitles. And then we updated as well so that the display information, so if you're manually setting it to be whatever the graphic novel, that is not modified. So we're not going to try to second guess you as we put in the as you put in the display information. Those were the big things. We've had a few libraries this time report that the days since added facet wasn't working properly for on order records. We found the root cause of that as well, and that is fixed as well. So your days since added facet should work properly. If you want to fix that in the meantime, it looked like the key thing was for anybody that had changed the display status to something that wasn't on order. So if it was like on dash order, that would make it not show. But that'll now work for everything. Other things for Koha, we added the ability for whether hours and dates are loaded automatically. So if we go to the library systems and go to holidays, so here we have the ability to say automatically update the holidays from the ILS or do not. So that's any of those recurring days off are getting marked as holidays. So like 4th of July, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. If you don't want to use what's in Koha and just manage it within Aspen, you can do that now just by turning that off. Similarly with locations, we were marking things as closed if automatically update hours from the ILS was turned on. So, or this is a new option to not do it. So it would say, hey, we're closed for Sunday. We're closed on Sunday. And it would say there was open from 0:30, closed at 0:30. But now you don't have to do that. You can override it. So if you're keeping things closed just to like avoid fines accruing and that kind of thing, you don't have to worry about that. You can just override it within Aspen. Other things. So Polaris for e-commerce, to make sure that things are recorded per for the correct library or location, we needed to pass in the org ID. That's being done now. So all of your Polaris fine payments should be getting credited to the library that you want. Also really good stuff, and this will be the last thing that I kind of show is for searching, we fixed some bugs that included some special characters, especially punctuation. So for people that were having issues, they were a little inconsistent with things. So like O'Malley or O'Hara or that kind of thing would sometimes show incorrect. Also subject searches, especially quoted subject searches, were having some trouble. So here we've gone through and fixed that. So if we search for witches, just do drama. So we see all of those. If we quote that search, that works as well. Let me go back to if we do those as keyword searches too. So let's do witches, juvenile fiction. We can go into that. If we click on any of these subjects, so if we go into subjects and say, hey, we're going to click on paranormal, occult, and supernatural, we get all of those to show up. And So all of those should work just fine now. Oh, that one's not. So we need to look at the slashes. The dashes will work as well. Let's go back to this one here. So here, if we click into witches, juvenile fiction, the quoted search of the subject, that's working great. So yeah, lots of good stuff there. Had lots of people with giving us different suggestions. If you see issues on your test server, please let us know so that we can tweak those and make sure that they're showing properly. With that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Jordan to talk about LIDA.
All right, so just a few things to show you with LIDA today. The first one that I want to show you is for the Palace project specifically. So right here you see checked out titles. I have one checked out Palace project title right here. If I were to tap on that, Palace project has a little bit more extensive instructions on how to use this. This was not previously translatable, so this is all translatable now. We did have a couple of other translation things that we took care of for LIDA. You can check the release notes for that. The other one that I want to call out is making sure that all the instances of like freezing holds, that you could call that suspend instead of freeze. The other change to the UI that you might notice, I'm going to go ahead and view item details here to see the full record and then go into ebook. With these buttons, we had some text getting cut off. The buttons weren't quite wide enough. Once some of the text gets longer for Checkout Palace Project, for example, these buttons used to be right next to this available online button. And that meant that there just wasn't quite enough space for the text. So just a slight UI change so that now it's the full width of the screen so that on small screens, it doesn't cut off that text. And that's all we have for updates in an instant